So now let's talk about this open versus closed system, right? So here I've got some metaphors to share with you. So let's say that this ring here represents the closed system, and then this here represents the open system, right? Now, the closed system has this very particular thing where mechanical energy remains constant, right? So that means that EMEC, which is EK plus EP, remains constant, and these two things can then be turned into each other. So EK can be turned into EP if something goes up, or EP can be turned into EK if something goes down, but that's it. Those forms of energy can't be turned into anything else when we are in a closed system. But as soon as we're in an open system, the energy can be turned into other forms of energy, such as, for example, heat or chemical energy, or what other, maybe electrical, whichever other form of energy you'd like to think of, you can then have those energy transitions in that open system. But in the closed system, EK gets turned into EP or vice versa because of the mechanical energy remaining constant, right? So the closed system you can think of like a JoJo tank, right? So the JoJo tank has a bit of water in it, and the water that's in there is going to remain the same unless we kind of open up the JoJo tank, right? So if we now put a hose in, right, and we start filling it up with water, then it's no longer a closed system, right? So then we're getting energy from something else, and this is what we think of as positive work. Right, so positive work is basically when we're adding energy to the system, right? And then we can also have maybe a leak or a tap or something like that where energy is going to be leaving, right? And that's going to be basically the idea of negative work, which is when energy is being taken away. All right, so then let's talk about this idea of conservative versus non-conservative forces. Now, we know that we've got a fancy definition about it being independent of the path traveled or dependent on the path traveled, right? But one way to start in understanding it, and especially in how it was named, is conservative means does not change EMEC. Okay? Right, so that's not how you're going to write it. You're going to write the definition from your definitions list. But conservative force conserves EMEC. It doesn't change EMEC, right? Whereas the non-conservative forces, those are going to be the ones that change EMEC. And those are going to be things like friction and the applied force, right? Whereas the conservative forces is things like now I wrote work done by gravity, the force of gravity. Okay. However, we do need to understand this idea of independent of the path taken and not dependent on the path taken in terms of the work done, right? So if we have something that goes in a closed loop, right? So let's say, for example, you've got an object, the object goes up, and then the object goes back down and it ends where it started. For that object, the work done by gravity is going to be zero, because whatever negative work done by gravity is done when it goes up, that same positive work is going to be done by gravity on its way down, right? So whatever path this object takes to get from where it started to where it ended, that is going to mean that the work done is still zero, right? Or if you have a particular amount of work done, if the box went from here to there, it doesn't matter whether it first went up or down and then up, or however it is that it got there, the work done by gravity is the same regardless of how it got there, right? Now, the same isn't true for friction, right? So let's say, for example, you've got this box and you push it this way and then you push it this way again. Now here, the work done by friction is twice going to be negative. It's not going to cancel itself out again because you've got to overcome friction to go this way and you've got to overcome friction to go back the other way, right? So the work done by friction does depend on the path traveled because every bit of the path that it travels, it's actually doing negative work, right? And so those things that do depend on the path traveled, those are going to be our non-conservative forces.